situation in Syria, and I really do mean this. I watch coverage of Syria and the Middle East in general on other networks, and sometimes the naivety, the lack of experience, is quite staggering. They still think in simplistic black and white, good and evil terms. It's far more profound than that. And speaking of profound, Ray Hurd, journalist, a man who personally advised Abraham Lincoln to go into the Civil War.
And Lyndon Johnson.
This is a strange situation because they got it wrong on the Arab Spring, but now the American government, Senate, they're talking about sending arms directly to and they are jihadists, the so-called revolutionaries in Syria.
Most of them are, I think.
Certainly those who have the major influence. This will cause an enormous conflict with Russia. They're still
and China.
Assad. Yeah, and China says it's more about money. But why would they do such a thing? What do they hope to gain from it?
They are closing the door after the horse has left the stable. It's really too late, Michael. Now, it's interesting, for a start, that the members of Congress opposed to the vote to send arms and supplies, but not aircraft, to the Syrian rebels. The votes against it are mainly from Rand Paul and the extreme right wing, because I think they fear a repeat of Vietnam, Afghanistan, or Iraq.
I wouldn't call them extreme right-wing. They're coalition of libertarians.
Real libertarians, but right-wing and very ambitious. You know, Rand Paul may run for president. So basically, if Obama had acted more rapidly when this thing started and had done what the British did in Indochina, which is to arm those rebels they trust, but it's too late to do that, because by neglecting the issue and hoping it will go away, it's really too late to have effective action. Now, the only sliver of hope here is John Kerry, who is a better Secretary of State than Hillary Clinton, in my view.
Well, that's not saying much, though, is it?
And he's married to someone who was my classmate at university, Teresa Heinz Kerry. If Kerry is lucky and he's in Jordan today, and maybe they'll use this as a stick to try to force the Russians to do something to help them prevent this from escalating. But the other thing I want to say is...
Let me ask you about that. I mean, Russia has 12 warships in the region.
Yes.
The only current state it has left in the entire area is Syria. They're not going to let this one go.
But don't forget, the Syrian regime, which is genocidal, has another major supporter, Iran.
Yeah, why do you say it's genocidal? It's dictatorial and it's vicious.
Well, they're killing their own people.
Well,
you know, that's genocide.
It's a neighborhood of bullies and thugs. And within that context, they're worse than Assad, I can tell you.
But it's interesting that Israel appears to be stirring the pot. I don't blame Israel. I support Israel, because the Israelis, like the Chinese, believe my enemy's enemy is my friend. So this is an escalation of sectarian violence, the biggest problem in the world today, apart from Iran on the verge of getting a nuclear weapon. The biggest problem the world faces today, Michael, is the sectarian war between radical Sunni and Shiite sects in the Muslim world. And basically what we're seeing here is another war between various Muslim sects who hate each other, who kill each other, who want to exterminate each other, even more sometimes than the State of Israel.
Oh, I would agree with that,
Israel may gain from further turbulence and unrest, but the key player here is Iran, which is an Islamo-fascist dictatorship.
I agree. Now, I understand Israel's position here. I don't agree with it, but they think Hezbollah is their main enemy, and it probably is. And if a Sunni regime, Brotherhood, and it would be Brotherhood, get into power in Damascus, they certainly wouldn't back Hezbollah. They wouldn't back an Iranian-supported Shia. There would be problems in other ways, but the country would be so unstable. Assad hasn't been a problem for Israel. That's been a very safe border. He hasn't responded to any flyovers.
That is true, but recently he started to take shots at Israel. When any regime is in trouble, the first thing the dictator does is to choose a foreign crisis to divert attention from the domestic crisis he has often, and there haven't been many female dictators yet, has inflicted on their own people. So now Assad has changed the tune, and he is increasingly pointing a finger at Israel.
Well, they fired at an Israeli truck that was empty. Israel immediately responded by destroying the people.
That's what Israel does.
I don't think that look, Assad can't afford to take on Israel in a war. He couldn't even get the troops down. He's trying to defend his own capital right now. I worry about Assad. Is not a good man. The Iranians are the real problem, but it is the devil we know. A coalition of Islamists who are not ideological, they're theocratic. I think potentially that's far more worrying.
I trust Israel if the radical Islamists take over, and that seems likely. I accept.
I think it's inevitable.
Okay, but if it does happen, don't think the Israelis and the French, who are very active here, won't play some really dirty tricks on these dangerous rebels if they win. But the best solution to this problem, frankly, is for Kerry to broker some sort of a deal with Assad, helped by A, the Russians, and B, by an even stronger economic and perhaps military superpower, and that is China. That's the best hope, is to somehow get a deal for Assad belatedly, to see sense and to try to de-escalate this. It's almost impossible.
I think it's completely impossible. I don't believe the rebels would allow Assad to stay in power. There are arguments about some of the people around him maybe being given positions of influence when Assad would leave. But I can't see that happening now. The country is regional. His Alawite followers, they will be slaughed. Christians will hemorrhage the country.
Yes, and Jews, yes.
Well, there are no Jews left in Syria. But I can't see. Many people in the West assume that if we all behave nicely enough, it'll be secular liberal types who will get into power. That's never going to happen. The vacuum will not be filled by good people. It'll be filled by fundamentalists.
But the solution has been practiced with some success by the British and the French.
Where?
In Indochina.
A long time ago, and it wasn't religion-based.
No, but it was ideologically based.
Nationalist struggles are easy to deal with.
Frankly, Soviet and Chinese communism is a religion. Okay? It is a religion. It's a secular religion.
The Chinese are no longer communist, and Russia is now post-Soviet.
Say Obama had been smarter, and Reagan might have done this, I don't know. You do it covertly, you do it underhand, and guess who you use as your surrogates?
Rob Ford?
No. The Israelis. Everyone blames the Israelis. How does Saudi Arabia feel about this? I bet you they are worried too, because as I started saying earlier, this is an ideological war we're seeing.
I think the Saudis would love Assad to go, and I think the Turks would too, but I wish we had more time because it's quite fascinating. As are you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.